Let me introduce you now to somebody from the Muslim community, believe it or not. In fact, it's Haroon Khan, who's a volunteer from the Ahmadiyya Muslim community. And let me tell you this, texter with no name, he goes around selling poppies. Haroon, welcome.
Assalamu alaikum to all of your listeners. That basically a piece for everybody who's listening. And thank you very much for having me on the show today. An interesting point that the texter makes there. I'm somebody who sells poppies and has been doing so for the last few years. I belong to the Ahmadiyya Muslim community. We have been supporting the British Loyal Legion for the last 5 years, in fact, selling poppies. So straight away, that's a challenge to your texter there. I'm somebody who, following the values of Islam, supports poppies, and actually, I think, you know, the notion of selling poppies and wearing a poppy is actually something that is very strongly linked to the loyalty that all Muslims should have to the country in which they reside. And actually, it is stated within Islam. The Ahmadiyya community basically belongs to a long-standing sort of, I would say, a concept that is known as Khilafat, which in simple terms means that we belong to a leadership. So we come under a leader who spiritually guides us as well as in worldly matters as well. And if you allow me, I just want to quote something that our spiritual leader, His Holiness Mirza Masroor Ahmad, has said. And he says, Muslims are obliged to be loyal to the country in which they live, honouring those who fought to defend and safeguard one's country is an important principle of Islam, and in fact is an important principle of peace, especially when it's carried out with a sincere heart and for the sake of winning God's pleasure.
Right. Okay. So you're tying that into what you're doing, but this also is interesting in the sense of the British values, because can you understand why some people don't wear it? I mean, we've heard from Jagdish, who's a Sikh. We've heard from Muslims as well, who say they don't wish to wear the poppy. So there are some Asians that don't decide to wear the poppy. Can you understand why they wouldn't feel comfortable?
I mean, I can only give you my personal perspective and really my opinion on why somebody wouldn't. And I believe this comes down to an issue of identity. There is a lot of people within the Asian communities, and not just saying Muslims, but the Asian communities, that maybe don't feel that their identity has a strong link to anything in particular. That's why we are seeing a sort of increase of radicalisation amongst especially a lot of our youth in communities today. I think it's very pure and simple. Supporting the appeal is a charitable thing. My grandfather also fought in the war. That's my personal link to it as well. However, the stronger link is actually about my allegiance to Britain as a British citizen. So understanding is a word. Really, we live in this country, and we should be supporting ideal aspects of society. And for me personally, supporting the poppy appeal is one of those things.
And do you think that certain people in the Asian community often just don't know enough about the history of the history, but let alone their own history? Do you know what I mean? They're often questioning these things of should we, shouldn't we? So it's not actually their fault. They don't mean it in a malicious way or anything like that. They just genuinely don't know much about it, and there's often this question mark.
Yeah, I agree with you. There's a disparity there. There's a difference of opinion, and I think a lot of that opinion is possibly believed due to the current media, the news that we see about current foreign policy and what have you. But I think we've always got to go back to what do these concepts stand for? They stand for basically people, men and women, who have fought to safeguard ourselves and our ancestors who've been in this country for a number of years. I don't think there's really anything that needs to mix. It's a very simple concept.
Yeah. Let me read out this text. It's from Keith. It says here, Keith, an Englishman. It says, my granddad was a professional soldier and fought in the First and Second World War. He used to tell me about some of the marvellous Muslims and Sikh soldiers who fought alongside him. And that's from Keith. And that's just the kind of thing, isn't it? That just brings communities together. Sort of those kind of texts that really bring communities together and understand a little bit about the communities. Tell me what you've been up to then today, because I guess you've been rushing around a lot. What do you do when you go out and sell these poppies?
Absolutely. There's more than 300 Ahmadiyya Muslims up and down the country that have been involved in selling these poppies, and we'll be continuing to do that across the week. Myself, I'll be, God willing, going on Wednesday into Birmingham City Centre. We'll be supporting the Royal British Legion in obviously selling poppies throughout into the community in Birmingham City Centre. So there's a lot of sort of preparation in that, and imagine obviously a community. We're an international community, but this is not just obviously happening here. As well as this kind of the community work, we're actually getting involved in blood drives. We're getting involved in planting trees all over the world as well. So it's about basically serving humanity and really placing that in the forefront of our work.
Thank you so much for coming in and just having that little chat with me. Really appreciate it. Good luck with the rest of what you're doing.
Thank you very much.
Really appreciate it, and hopefully we'll see each other again.
Thank you very much for having me on the show.
Thank you. Take care.